Hello, this is Isa Kyutan welcoming you to another Asian Agribiz podcast. Today, Arif Faharuddin is speaking to Jayasimha Nuggehalli, COO of Global Food Partners, about the opening of ASEAN's first cage-free training center in Indonesia.
First of all, congratulations for the opening of the ASEAN's first cage-free training center in Indonesia. Let's start our talk about this center by answering this question. Why Indonesia? Why not other ASEAN countries?
Why Indonesia? As in, Indonesia is the shining star of ASEAN, like in the sense when you look at where the story is going to be developing in the next 10, 12 years. We know that every single parameter of Indonesia, that could be people moving into urban areas, increase in income, education, export, people's want of higher quality food, the growth of hospitality industry. When you really look at all parameters, it just seemed that Indonesia was the right place to do. The second thing was we also wanted to do a location where we could attract a lot of farmers and from the region. And Indonesia was kind of a common ground because Jogjakarta is a 2-hour flight from Kuala Lumpur and there's a 2-hour flight from Singapore. And it's pretty easy to kind of get to because of the tourist hub that it is. So in many sense, be it in terms of geography, in terms of finding the right university partner, that was UGM, and most importantly, just the country and looking at how important the growth of Indonesia is going to be for this region. It was actually a natural choice for us to build our first model farm and training center in Indonesia than any other country in Southeast Asia.
Interesting. So forward-looking.
Very forward-looking. Because to be honest, cage-free is forward-looking, right? In the sense like, we all know that the current market demand is pretty limited. As in, I'm not saying that there isn't a market demand, but there's a limited market demand. But it's growing. But it might not grow a lot in like 12 months. But one can only be sure that with the growth of online retail, with the growth of young generation who are earning money now, the kids who were born in 2000s who are now going to be earning, and there's a whole lot that's in Indonesia, like every other place. They're going to be asking those questions, and to us, cage free is really that value addition for forward looking for the egg industry in the region, saying that this is where the consumers are going to be moving. It's better that we are prepared rather than be taken by surprise when the consumer preference is changing.
Okay, next, let's dive deeper into the facility, where it is actually located, who owns it, what is the investment cost, and how many birds is the capacity?
Sure. I'll go one by one. It's located off the campus of Universitas Gadjah Mada in the city of Jogjakarta, Central Java. It's owned by the university. The model farm and the training center is owned by the Faculty of Animal Sciences of the University of Gadjah Mada. The costing is going to be a bit weird for me to say because this particular model farm was built by support of many industry partners. We were grateful for Venkomatic, who actually donated the equipment, Hato, who donated the equipment, Hendrix Genetic, which actually gave us the birds, Hotraco, who provided the equipment at a much discounted rate. And so I wouldn't really want to get into how much this actually cost, because I think a lot of it came in in-kind donation, some came as discounts overall. It's about 3,000 birds. It hosts about 3,000 birds. And you must be wondering as to why did we choose that particular number? We didn't want to go to a really small farm, because then when people come and look at cage-free farming as a model farm, we didn't want them to think that, well, it is a small backyard sustenance kind of farming. We also didn't want to build something so huge. When farmers come for training, there's a lot of biosecurity risk, because when people come in and go out and come in and go out, there's always a risk. And in a model farm and training center, maintaining biosecurity can be a bit of a problem, just because of the revolving door of people who come in and go, who want to see this farm. And 3,000 seemed like a good one. And as you know, cage-free farms, be it single tier or multi-tiers, have modules. So if you really want to put up even a 30,000 cage-free farm, it's almost a repeat of this 10 particular module. So when a farmer comes in, they get a feel of a commercial cage-free farm, not like a smallholder farm, and yet it's a number that we are able to manage in terms of biosecurity, disease control, because of the fact that we'll have a lot of people visiting this particular farm.
You touched a little bit about the company names that supporting the center, and I read that there is a consortium supporting the center. Tell us who the members are and their contributions to the center.
Sure. So we called for a consortium, and we have a bunch of members into this. I think Global Food Partners kind of led this consortium. We had a knowledge partner with Aries, University of Applied Sciences from the Netherlands. They were part of the consortium. So they came in as the knowledge partners as well. Obviously, University Gajah Mada was the host university for this consortium. We had the Vencomatic Group, who provided the housing design and equipment. We had Hato, which is the lighting company, which helped with the lighting for this particular farm. We had Hotraco, which formed a member of this consortium, who in a concessional rate provided the ventilation and the computer systems, so on and so forth, that is required. I think these are all the people who formed the physical infrastructure. Then obviously the birds form a very important role in this, and Hendrix Genetics provided the genetics that is required for this. We were also lucky for some buyers to come in. Marriott Jogjakarta came in as one of the buyers of the eggs. So they are also a member of this particular consortium. So all of us came together to build this cage-free model farm and training center in Jogjakarta.
So in this center, Hendrix Genetics commits to supply the new replacement also for the next cycle.
I think our current commitment is for this one flock. And I'm pretty confident that they might. One of the biggest challenge for us has been with relation to pullets. In a sense, like it's one thing to get the day-old chick, but the other is to actually find pullets who are trained well in a cage-free ecosystem. And we are working with pullet suppliers to build their capacity. And in that sense, not just for our farm, whatever we do is to create that ecosystem for anybody who wants to set up a cage-free farm. Yeah, we will continue to work with Hendrix. And as a matter of fact, I think just today, the manager of Hendrix's grandparent stock is on a farm providing inputs and looking at the birds and so on and so forth. So yeah, Hendrix is a very important part of our consortium. As you know, genetics plays a very, very important role in cage-free farming, and we are kind of certain that they'll continue supporting our model farm.
What about the feed for the layers? Where do you get it?
So the feed for it's sourced by the university. We, along with Hendrix, have figured out what is required. At this point of time, we don't necessarily have a partner. We've spoken to few, but I think at this point of time, the feed is actually sourced by the university from a local feed mill.
What kinds of programs that have been offered or will be offered by the center, and who can join?
Sure. So the center has many kinds of programs. One of the key one, I think what we recently did was for about 33 professors and lecturers from the Philippines. They came to be learned on how cage-free farming is done. Prior to that, there was a training of trainers of experts from around the region who came to get trained. So generally, our aim is to train students of animal sciences so that when they graduate out, they can get absorbed into cage-free farms as farm managers. We want to be training farmers and farm workers, and also anybody who is within the student category, generally in the sense like it could be in terms of lab, in terms of veterinarians, so on and so forth. They could come, and anybody from the industry could also come. The way this works is, people should just follow our Facebook page as well as Instagram page of the Cage-Free Welfare Hub that is there. Also be in touch with UGM. They will kind of call out for applications. We are also able to do tailor-made training. So we are in the process of creating a training program for a few government officers from India to visit the model farm because they are very curious. So we also do tailor-made training programs when a particular stakeholder reaches out saying that we are interested. And our interest has been very high. In fact, this morning, we got an email from a few people from Ghana who wanted to actually come and visit our cage-free farm. We've had people from India, from Philippines, from across the region and around the world who now wants to come and visit our cage-free farm and get trained there.
Okay, finally, what are the ultimate goals of the center?
Sure. So our ultimate goal for the center is cage-free transition is hard, but the cage-free transformation can future-proof a farmer's income as well as the egg industry in Indonesia and the region. We want farmers to be successful when they do the transition. The last thing we want is a farmer thinking that it's easy and just like doing the transition without being trained. It can be done, but with a lot of training. Otherwise, you might end up having issues like feather pecking, floor eggs, mortality, of all of those things that kind of exist in a cage-free farming. However, with proper training, you can actually run a successful cage-free farm. I think the two things that we want to do is show to the world that is in Asia, in Asian conditions, it is possible to run a cage-free farm. And we've done a lot of tinkering in design to actually meet some of these conditions for Asia. For example, the side curtains that we use in our model farm, they drop when the electricity goes away because in many parts of Asia, electricity is a problem. And what happens if there's an electricity failure? Or in terms of humidity, because we're such a high humidity, it is possible for the computer to kind of keep turning off or over ventilating because of the humidity that exists. So we kind of are figuring out as to in a completely humid region such as where we are, how do you kind of do the temperature setting and the environment setting in a cage-free farm? So in the sense like it's doable in Asia, and we're showing this. Second is for anybody who wants to do, we want to build capacity so that they're able to be successful. If somebody sets up a cage farm and if whatever happens and the birds die and the performance is low, so on and so forth, they will blame themselves saying that, oh my God, I think we did something wrong. If a person sets up a cage-free farm and if something goes wrong, they will always blame the system saying that the system is very poor. This cage-free system is bad. And we don't want that to happen. Empowering farmers, building that ecosystem and ensuring that they get access to this new market that is being developed of cage-free. And in that sense, being true to what Indonesia really is, the hospitable, beautiful country that it is amazing to be part of that particular revolution of change that's happening in Indonesia and adding cage-free to that revolution.
Thank you, Jaya. I wish all the best and success to the center, to GFP, and all the partners.
Thank you for listening to another Asian Agribiz podcast. Don't forget to subscribe to this show on Spotify, Apple Music, or wherever you get your podcasts.